The X-Files, Apokalypsis by Penny Evans. Apokalypsis is the Greek word for revelation, an uncovering. Rating R, violent imagery, strong language and sexual themes. Category MT, angst, MSR, Scully comfort. Spoilers. 3 words: biogenesis, war of the coprophages, requiem, this is not happening, dead alive, within, without, sixth extinction, amor fati, the truth, fight the future, I want to believe, my struggle 1 to 4, +1, the Erlenmeyer flask, Herrenvolk, the red and the black, Piper Maru. Disclaimer. All X-File characters belong to CC 1013 and Fox/Disney. No profit was made and no copyright infringement intended. Summary. Mulder has been having lucid memories about his nightmare aboard the alien spacecraft and finally decides to share his thoughts with the one person who he hopes will understand. But are they really as straightforward as they seem? Chapter 1. Escape from reality. He took several irregular deep breaths as he tried to process his situation. A hospital room. He was sat in a chair in a bright, spotlessly clean white. In a flash his mind was transported back to a similar place. Another room, almost the same size and shape, only the light had been so intense it had hurt his eyes. Then he disappeared into this illumination, a vortex of translucent energy. No, wait! Go back to the white room. Yes, that had been on a psychiatric ward where he'd been aimlessly walking around it screaming like a lunatic. Voices had permeated his thoughts, a cacophony of noise that was so deafening he had felt his head was going to explode. Scanners. Wasn't that a movie where the characters could make this happen through telepathy? Okay, his mind was taking a detour into the realm of science fiction, or was it? That other light, the one that seemed to have swallowed him whole, that had really happened, in those woods, after he'd witnessed others standing in a glowing circular sphere, a tractor beam? Fox Mulder felt a dark, foreboding presence. Gazing up into the sky, he noticed a spacecraft hovering above the little group that was emitting this shaft of light. There was a sense of amazement, quickly followed by realization and then fear, as a familiar figure from his nightmares approached him. So there had been a price on his head after all, and now the bounty hunter had been given the go-ahead to collect his prize. He recognized those eyes now piercing into the very depths of his soul. Then everything around him faded as he was engulfed by an intense luminescence. "Dr. Pearson, please report to the emergency room! Dr. Pearson, to the emergency room!" A shrill female voice over a tannoy system snapped him back to the hospital room. "What the fuck?" Mulder muttered under his breath, trying to fully process what was happening. Then he realised he was dressed in one of those flimsy cotton gowns that never left much to the imagination. How he hated those garments. I mean, he might as well be naked, all the good they did with concealing one's body. At least the room was being kept at a regular temperature, so he wasn't freezing to death. But there had been a time when he had found himself in those circumstances, hadn't there? The memories returned, invading his consciousness with such a jarring force he no longer knew what was tangible anymore. Discovering he was submerged in some sort of liquid, he automatically tried to fight his way out, but realised he couldn't actually move a muscle. Just where the hell was he? Was it possible to regress back to being inside your mother's womb? Or was he in a float tank undergoing some sort of sensory deprivation therapy? If that was the case, then it certainly wasn't reducing any stress-related anxiety issues he might be having right now. Even though he wasn't able to see or hear anything, another of his 5 senses was actually working on overtime. He became aware he was completely naked and his skin was in fact encased in a viscous substance which was more like a kind of gelatin. He could feel its icy coldness creeping into every pore in his body. Starting to feel like one of those fossilised insects trapped in amber, he thought he was going to have a full-blown panic attack. He wanted to scream in the hope that someone, anyone, would hear his frightened pleas, then quickly became aware that was another impossible move on his part, as he couldn't even open his mouth. He couldn't even fucking breathe! What in God's name was happening to him? A sudden tug and an organic breathing tube was yanked from his throat. Mulder's eyes flew open and he proceeded to choke, then vomit up a greenish-yellow fluid, that same sticky substance he'd found himself surrounded in. As he took deep, heaving breaths, aware now he was free of the stuff, he heard someone speak. The deep, resounding voice sounded full of complete satisfaction. "Decontamination was a success. He's ready."